as you say, the proof is in the pudding, and we've achieved a major award every year for the last 5 years. And I think that's something where in the
Yeah,
U.S., Galeon has become a top three brand in the country, from 40 to
yeah,
70 feet. So it's quite an accomplishment in this market, which is a
yeah,
very fastidious market. I'd say they're discerning, and they expect quality,
yeah,
and they want all of the features that we're doing. The innovations are what
yeah,
drives, I think, the sales for sure. And I think it's a magical sort of relationship that you have with Galeon, that they're willing to do these daring designs. And I don't know, I know that Jacek is involved in a lot of them, and you and he work together
yeah.
quite closely.
I could not do this alone, right? Because you need them to be able to execute these ideas, and quite often in the process of executing them, they might even improve them. Or, for example, I might have an idea that is really difficult to execute well, like a very complicated door that when you make it, the first one, it leaks, right?
Yeah,
So, sometimes we have to go back to the smallest detail and to iron out those last little things. Now, Jacek, especially now that he's grown from a young kid 20 years ago when I met him, in which he hardly had anything to do with the company, it was mostly his father. Now, of course, he's become really enthused with the whole idea of creating these boats. You can see also, how he gets excited, when he sees something that he hasn't seen before. And what tends to happen now is that even though I might come up with, I would say, the majority of the new ideas, he immediately picks up on it,
right.
and then he starts thinking on top of it. And sometimes he says, could you also do this, or could you also do that? And then often the end result is really a mixture of our joint efforts, right,
Right.
to arrive at what you end up seeing and end up selling to your clients. So I don't want in any way to belittle the job of the builder at all, because they have a hell of a good job. But equally, I'm not going to share what I consider to be rightfully my own creative ideas, which I believe are incredibly valuable for a builder like Galeon.
Right. Well, I think the relationship is really what drives the product, and it's what
Yeah,
drives the clients. They love the ideas that come from both you and
yeah,
Jacek and Galeon, and there's engineers and designers there at the factory. I know we're I'm proud to represent the brand, and I'm sure you're proud as well. And I know that the
yeah,
entire team at Galeon has to be, the management team, the design teams, they're all proud of what they're doing. And when you look at the designs, you look at the awards that we've won with Galeon, I think it's got to be incredibly gratifying to you, as it is to anybody
yeah,
involved with it, really, to see something like what's behind you on a piece of paper. It starts as a 2D drawing, a profile and a layout, then it ends up as a 3D rendering, and then you end
yeah,
up with the tooling process and the molding and the hundreds of molds that go into
yeah,
it, which I don't think a lot of people realize necessarily how much. Every hatch is a molded hatch. Every part on the boat requires
yeah,
tooling, and it requires a mold, and it
yeah,
requires, so every gutter, every line on the boat is designed
yeah.
in, and
Well, as I mentioned,
quite a
um, 40 so many years ago, when I did my first one of my first production boats for Jano. They used to have two molds, a hull mold and a deck mold. Then everything else was more or less built. It was real boat building the boat. H1 was built. There was not very many molds in the early stages. And in those days, the job I did and give to the builder took me maybe 200 hours. Now
right.
it's 2,500.
Yeah.
So things have, got 10 times, there's 10 times more work now to basically develop the same 40 footer.
Right. But that
So
40 footer now
it shows how things have changed.
that 40 footer now has air conditioning, water heaters,
Yeah.
power windows,
Yeah.
swing platforms that move.
Endless.
I mean, yeah, the amount of amenities, it's everything that you have in a home or a small city, really, with when you talk about water systems and you talk about waste systems and gray water systems and AC power and DC power. And there's so much.
And my 2,500 hours don't include the hours that the shipyard has got to do on top. Because there's quite a lot of, sometimes they have to do what's called shop floor drawings. They have to obviously create the information for their own workers to follow, their schedules, their plans, their timetables and so on. So there's a whole technology to be able to build these boats, and it's really, really, really difficult to be a production boat builder. It's very demanding.
Yeah, for sure. So we see that every day, and we communicate with the factory all the time, and hear the challenges that they have, supply chain and otherwise. But I think ultimately, I want to thank you for taking some time to go through this. I think your perspective on the relationship with Galeon and how it's evolved is something very interesting. And to hear the philosophy of the family behind Galeon, the Cabilcos, they do an amazing job. There's as you mentioned, the passion that comes out when you speak to them, and you the
of course,
marriage between the young and the old with the design, the innovations, and the passion of Jacek combined with the strength of build and the naval background of Yannick. You've got this really, when I first got involved with the brand and I saw the 500 fly, I said, that's going to be really, really great. You're not going to want to take it in the ocean. And, the wings are going to break all the time. Well, I've been involved with it for 5 years now. The wings don't break. They work really well. I've had testimonials of people running them in 6 to 8 foot seas, and they, it's phenomenal how well built they are, and those features still work. So kudos to you and to the team at Galeon for doing that. And I think maybe we'll do this again in a year or so, and we'll look at some new design.
Sure. Of course, I didn't mention that it's all very well for the designer and the builder to do all these things, but the role of the dealers and people like MarineMax is very important. And in my opinion, it could become even more important, and I think it will be, and it has to be, because as things go on, there's more and more competition. We need to be more and more efficient at creating what our customers want, and therefore this relationship that was a twosome, let's say, between the designer and the builder, it has to become a threesome, because I think in the future, the role of somebody like MarineMax, together with me and Galeon, these three people, the more they work together, the better we're going to design the boats.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think every time you and I speak, we learn something. I learn something, you learn something based on what the customer experience.
I think this is really important for the future, for us to be even better than we've managed to be so far.
Yeah,
and we have to continue to strive to make better, better, more efficient boats, ever easier to use, more fun, more pleasure. I mean, that's what we'd like to achieve.
Well, that's
what the customer wants.
At the end of the day, we don't have this conversation without the end user, the customer, which we do listen to, all the time, and we feed that back to Galeon and yourself.
Yeah.
And we work ultimately for them, and agree with you 100%. Getting that feedback back to the design stage as to what people want, what they need, how they use the boats is very important. So again, this has been wonderful. I thank you for the time, and I think we'll talk again, hopefully in 6 months time, maybe a year. We'll see what's on the horizon for new models and such. And
sure.
And we'll do this every now and again. So Tony,
I already have a few surprises that so far nobody else has seen.
Okay.
So you better get busy ordering some of those, before somebody else does it.